Hello Internet and welcome back to Tech Tactics. Today we're taking a look at a true legend, the GTX 750 Ti, originally launched in 2014. This budget GPU earned a reputation for delivering solid performance without breaking the bank. But now, in 2025, more than a decade later, the question is, can it still keep up with today's games? Or is it finally time to retire this little warrior? As always, we're using our standard test bench, an Intel i9-13900K, a Z790 motherboard and 64GB of DDR5 RAM, running at 6000 MHz, more than enough to ensure this GPU is the only limitation in today's tests. We'll be benchmarking the GTX 750 Ti across 10 popular titles, to find out just how much life it still has left. So, stick around, the results might surprise you, but first, it's time for the segue. The online marketplace for CD keys and software. G2A.com, where you can find discounts on all the keys you need. We're kicking off with Borderlands 2 running at 1080p with high graphics settings, and with motion blur and depth of field disabled. Before diving into the gameplay, let's take a look at the specs. The NVIDIA GeForce GTX 750 Ti launched in February 2014. It was the first to feature NVIDIA's Maxwell architecture, which brought a significant boost in performance and power efficiency over the previous Kepler-based GPUs. With 640 CUDA cores, a base clock of 1020 MHz and a boost clock of up to 1085 MHz, the 750 Ti is equipped with 2GB of GDDR5 memory on a 128-bit bus, providing a memory bandwidth of 86.4 gigabits per second. Built on 28nm process, this card was a powerhouse for its time, particularly suited for systems with smaller power supplies, often not requiring an additional PCIe power connector. Borderlands 2 was released in 2012, a few years prior to the launch of the 750 Ti. So, in terms of performance, Borderlands 2 averages 57 FPS, with 1% lows hitting 27 FPS, and 0.1% lows dipping to 18 FPS. Next up we have Deus Ex Mankind Divided running on GTX 750 Ti at 1080p on low settings, and motion blur and depth of field disabled. This game was released a few years after the cards launched. Even by today's standards though, it still holds up visually for a title that's 9 years old. Most GTX 750 Ti variants featured DVI, HDMI and DisplayPort connections, all capable of supporting resolutions up to 4K. Even now, the 750 Ti is fondly remembered for delivering solid 1080p gaming performance while keeping power consumption impressively low. With a TDP of just 60 watts, in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the card averages 52 FPS, and with 1% lows around 37 FPS, and 0.1% lows dipping to 35 FPS. Next up we have Fallout 4, which was released in 2015. This 10-year-old game is running at 1080p resolution with high graphics settings and motion blur disabled for a smoother experience. In terms of performance, Fallout 4 delivers an average of 38 FPS. The 1% lows drop to 26 FPS. The 0.1% lows, on the other hand, dip to 9 FPS. I highly recommend checking out Fallout London. If you purchase the Game of the Year edition through the Galaxy Game Client, you can install a standalone version of Fallout London with just one click. I would definitely recommend trying it out. Next we have Far Cry 5, one of my favourite game franchises, running at 1080p resolution with the graphics settings set to low. Both motion blur and depth of field effects have been disabled. For the 750 Ti, Far Cry 5 performs pretty well, averaging around 60 FPS. When we dive into the 1% lows, the game stays above 49 FPS, ensuring a stable experience for most of the time. However, the 0.1% lows drop to 17 FPS, which can result in occasional stutters in Far Cry 5. Overall, despite these dips, the game remains highly playable and enjoyable for most of the experience. Next up we have Fortnite running at 1080p resolution with the settings set to low. Motion blur and depth of field have been turned off. On average, the game delivers around 58 FPS, providing a fairly stable experience. When we look at the 1% lows, we see a drop to 33 FPS. The 0.1% lows go even lower, dipping to 29 FPS. While the gameplay remains playable, these frame dips may be noticeable, especially during intense action sequences. The next game tested of the GTX 750 Ti is GTA 5 Legacy Edition, running at 1080p resolution with the normal graphics preset, motion blur disabled and FXAA enabled. Under these settings, GTA 5 delivers a solid average of 76 FPS, providing a smooth and enjoyable experience most of the time. However, a closer look at the 1% lows reveals a dip to 58 FPS, with the 0.1% lows dropping slightly further to 46 FPS. Despite this, GTA 5 remains highly playable on the GTX 750 Ti, offering a solid balance of visual quality and smooth performance at 1080p. Next up is Half-Life 2, one of the most iconic first-person shooters ever made. The game is running at 1080p with high graphics settings to maximise visual quality. For those who enjoy a more authentic old-school feel, motion blur has been turned off and classic effects have been enabled, capturing the nostalgic atmosphere of the original release. In terms of performance, Half-Life 2 delivers excellent results, averaging 273 FPS. With 1% lows at 171 FPS and 0.1% lows at 157 FPS. This ensures a constantly smooth experience, allowing players to fully immerse themselves in the world of City 17 without any noticeable drops in frame rate. The next game we're testing is Red Dead Redemption, running at 1080p resolution with medium graphics settings and motion blur turned off. This title, originally released in 2010, remains one of my go-to benchmarking games thanks to its ability to scale across a wide range of hardware. In this test, Red Dead Redemption delivers an impressive average of 98 FPS, ensuring smooth gameplay during most of the action. The 1% lows dip slightly to 78 FPS, maintaining a stable experience with no major stuttering. Meanwhile, the 0.1% lows come in at 71 FPS. Overall, these numbers show that Red Dead Redemption runs very well on this system, offering great balance between visual fidelity and fluid performance at 1080p. Next up we have 2 Point Hospital, a game I've poured countless hours into, and it's one I truly enjoy. For this, I've got it set to run at 1080p resolution with high graphics settings. I've opted to turn off motion blur for a smoother visual experience. 2 Point Hospital isn't the most demanding game out there, which makes it a great choice for testing the 750 Ti, and handles it really well. On this setup, the game runs surprisingly smooth, maintaining an impressive average of 68 FPS. The 1% lows drop to 58 FPS and the 0.1% lows hit 13 FPS. This combination of settings shows just how well the 750 Ti can handle lighter games like 2 Point Hospital, making it a great option for budget gamers. The final game we're testing is Kingdom Come Deliverance at 1080p resolution with the low graphics settings and motion blur turned off yet again. The GTX 750 Ti manages an average of 39 FPS, with 1% and 0.1% lows both sitting at 30 FPS. The GTX 750 Ti is still kinda holding it down in 2025, at least for older and lighter titles, esports games like Counter-Strike Go, Half-Life 2 and even GTA 5. Totally playable, not perfect, but surprisingly decent for a GPU that dropped over 10 years ago. But the second you boot up a modern AAA game, it falls apart fast. We're talking stutters, single-digit FPS, and menu lag so bad it feels like you're watching a slideshow. The 750 Ti just doesn't have the juice to keep up with today's big titles. And that's fair. It's ancient in GPU years. If you're still rocking one, mad respect. But let's be real, it's time to upgrade. Even something like a GTX 980 Ti or a 1060 will feel like a massive leap forward. You'll get smooth gameplay, better visuals and way less frustration. Still, for under 20 quid on the used market, the 750 Ti is a budget legend. It's perfect for retro builds, LAN party nostalgia or a second rig for chill games. Just don't expect miracles from that 2GB of VRAM. If you've enjoyed this look back at a classic graphics card, feel free to give this video a like. Consider subscribing and stick around. I've got more nostalgic hardware deep dives and performance tests coming soon. You won't want to miss what's ahead. Thanks for watching, I'm David James, and this was Tech Tactics. Take care and see you in the next one.
Alright, that's enough.